Prince Rupert Hospital today, July 2nd, 2025. There's between the doors, the main entrance for emergency there. There's an alcohol smell and then there's a perfume smell, strong perfume smell. I think it was maybe an older lady that was checking in. It's the type of perfume usually older women wear. On the way out, I smell the perfume again. It's strong, it's upsetting. So I go and I say, did the new request for what the doctor and I had spoken about on virtual clinic show up? And then she said, I don't see it. But then I have to say, well, I'm going to go sit. Can you find out what's happening with that? So me doing this, by the way, makes it that they'll be problem solving, right? So I'm training staff to be staff. And I always do this, and it's always sad. It always triggers my species alienation to share the same DNA with you. And it's really a sign, because I always have to do it, it's really a sign of your developmental disabilities. I mean, you suffer from HSD, you rarely, if ever, access your brain's higher functions. So the lady comes back out. Not sure if it was the same one as Monday, 2 days ago. See, I don't park there. And there's a lot of potholes that are nasty. And of course, I'm an excellent freaking driver. And but I can't afford to do my medical exam for the class 4 if somebody would hire me for the class 4, and they don't, because I'm an excellent driver. They don't identify with that. They don't identify with somebody with good communication skills. So the lady comes back out and said, no, your other stool test was on the form. Here it is. So that means the new Filipino lady, and I'm already triggered, it's Filipina, right? Unless I get counseled by a Filipino counselor that'll help me deal with all the traumas from Filipinos, and will also say, I apologize many times on behalf of the Filipinos, as part of this trauma healing from a Filipino counselor, maybe. I don't know if they go in counseling that much, but... So when she comes back, I say, oh no, it was there. She should have given it to you. And I also say, well, so that means I made her do a phone call for nothing, because it was on the form. It's really hard to see. And it was there, so she should have done it. But both her didn't see it, and the guy she called Virtual Health, who also wasn't that great at communication. So I'm telling this other guy that this lady, I give her feedback when I leave. Okay, and I'm not exactly sure she's one of the two that was at the desk of the lab on Monday. Not entirely sure. I think it's likely, but... And so I say, you know, when I got the urine sample, there wasn't instructions. And I say this because I'm not sure sometimes if it should be refrigerated or not. I'm not sure if it's, you avoid the beginning of the stream of your urine, try to catch the later part, which is what I did, I told her. And I said, the one you just gave me that I should have been given last time I was here doesn't have plastic, because this time the poop's supposed to be on plastic, not on the paper folding thing that came with the other test, with the more narrow kind of tube. This one is a rounder tube with the cotton swab that you break off, this one. And he said, oh, you know, that they're supposed to do that. So they work in the same office. They won't talk to problem solve, you know, and then they're uncomfortable with somebody that wants to help them problem solve. I said, you know how much it costs me? I'm poor. To bring my motor home, warm it up, to drive through these potholes, maybe get a parking spot where nobody hits me. I won't hit them, because the vehicle that was there was really crooked before. I said, it'll be hard to get out if somebody else blocks this place. So she gets the other guy to help me to make sure, because these instructions do say, make sure a lab person checks to make sure you've done it well. The instructions were okay, but it's still... Anyway, so the guy, I say, hey, was she the one that was there on Monday? Because she told me she wasn't there on Monday, so she doesn't know why the new Filipino lady that was taking the blood test missed it. But really, is they do very little. They just don't want to interact with people. So this guy, I said, well, you were there on Monday. I saw you lean back behind them on the counter and look at your phone. But he wouldn't give me a straight answer. You can't get a straight answer from a lot of the important questions you ask Filipino people. And yeah, I'm generalizing because, you know, this is measurable. I'm not just saying it because I had one bad experience with one person one time. And so he gives me this big marker thing, permanent marker, but it's huge. I said, well, how thin is the... And I have to go super slow, make sure my first name... He gives me 2 gloves to do it. Even though the copy of my form is on it with my information, I have to put it on the bottle. And instead of him doing it with his gloves, I do it. So I write it, because, you know, if they don't give you a pen, and I didn't bring one. So I did a very good job. It's very legible, but there was only room for my name one on top of my first name on top of my second name. And it's really, I tell this guy, I say, it's not just about computer software or the needles and the tests. It's about people skills. It's about interacting. It's about wanting to be here, you know, and acknowledging people as human beings. And really, that's the failures, and it's worse here. And you know what? If I had money and my bike was good, I would actually go do these same tests in Terrace and do some errands or visit with somebody or go to the library or, you know, maybe try a couple of games of badminton or something, just to avoid the feeling and the triggers of species alienation here. At just the inhuman attempts at being professionals. And I have, as somebody that's more professional than them, during this accelerating Anthropocene, I have to suffer by their oppression, their incompetence, their developmental disabilities, their dishonesties, their lack of care and concern. And I'm not allowed to train them to have this care and concern and these life skills. Because, you know, that means they have to look at themselves in the mirror, and it's not about that. It's about just getting a paycheck and feeling like somehow you're a grown-up because you have a grown-up with developmental disabilities who has borderline intelligence, which now everybody does, so now it's become average intelligence. This is what I have to deal with. But I would still have preferred to go to Terrace if I could afford it, just to go poop at a toilet, or I don't know if the other door to the lab will open, or somebody will think to knock because the last person they put in there left and they don't know that I went in there. And I have to MacGyverize things. It didn't have plastic, so I inverted one of the bags, pooped on there, do everything there, and then I invert back the bag and Ziploc and put it in the garbage, not in the toilet. You know, I have to do all these things to save money and to compensate for their incompetence. And this is what it's like for the elusive Homo sapien to live among you during your accelerating HSD pathologies.